the 20th anniversary. I think the whole year is going to be the damn 20th anniversary. Real quick, I'm getting network connection difficulties again from Google Hangouts. So if the show drops again, folks, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. But just to let you know that's what's is happening. Google seems to be having some sort of issues on their end. Brian says it buffered for a bit. My apologies for that, but it's the nature of the intrawebs. I'll keep going regardless, though, because I can record this and we can watch the archive later. On tonight's show, we're going to talk to, as always, our good friend Jim Dalrymple from the Loop at loopinsight.com. We're going to talk to Jim about. Jim doesn't know this. I don't know why he hasn't made any kind of big deal about this, but not only is this Your Mac Life's 20th anniversary, it's Jim's too. Jim started in the Macintosh community 20 years ago this year. We'll talk to him a little bit about that. We'll talk to him a little bit about his experiences with Macworld Expo, which is also going on this week. We'll talk about Macworld Expo, and sadly, we're not there, unfortunately. We're also going to talk. I've got an interview with the, as I said on Twitter, her name is Elisa Voorhees, which either sounds like a character from Game of Thrones, or she's the senior tech advisor analyst to Gazelle. It's the latter, by the way. Gazelle.com is a place I've always used to sell my old iOS devices. I've sold one iPad there and at least 3, probably 4 iPhones there. Simple, easy to do, easy to use. Don't get it, as I said in the interview with her, it's a pre-recorded interview, by the way, folks. As I said in the interview with her, I'm doing it in my pajamas. That being said, what do you guys do with your old iOS devices, or even your old laptops, even your old desktops? Do you give them to friends and family? Do you sell them? If you sell them, how do you sell them? Do you sell them on eBay or your local Craigslist or family and friends? Give me a sense of what you guys do and how you take care of or use or get rid of your old devices. On air at yourmaclifeshow.com if you want to email about anything during the show. We always appreciate the emails that you guys send us. We've also still got a bunch of prizes left over from all those nice companies who gave us prizes for the 20th anniversary show. We are going to be giving away, let me just get the list of folks who are giving away prizes from last week and this week. The folks at Glovely, we still got 1 pair of the touchscreen gloves. We've got a Topaz Labs collection of their photography enhancement and editing software to give away. Primo Vista is giving away a bamboo speaker dock. MacFun has 2 creative kits to give away. Connex, the nice folks at Connex, have got 5 Napa Trim Caslet iPhone wallets. Nifty Drives, we're going to give away 3 Nifty Mini Drives. And Backblaze is giving away 2 more 1-year unlimited online backup subscriptions to Backblaze. So thanks very much to all those companies for sending stuff. I just noticed someone is trying to chat to me or sending up a chat message in Google Hangouts. Please don't do that. I'm on the edge of things I can deal with now. Any more tweets or messages or anything that might make my head explode. If you want to message me or anyone else on the show, the best way to do it is join in the IRC chat room. If you're a traditional IRCer, the server we're using is irc.chat-solutions.org, and we're in the pound Your Mac Live channel. Or even if you're watching the Google Hangouts, you can go to the website at yourmaclifeshow.com, and right there on the front page, below the video, is the link that Monty set up for us for IRC. So even if you're not familiar with IRC software, you can join the IRC right from the front page of the website. That's the best way to get a hold of me during the show. Either email, whoever sent that chat message in Google Hangouts, please email me on air at yourmaclifeshow.com or send me a chat message. And in the chat, use my full name, Sean King, no space. Because what that does is it pops up this little window for me, or it makes the text red, so I can see that you guys are communicating to me. Otherwise, I just do passing glances at the IRC chat room. I'm about to take a sip of my beverage. You notice my beverage is purplish, pinkish? I have been drinking a lot of water recently. A, it's healthy. B, it's cheap. It's free. It comes out of the tap. I'd rather drink beer, but don't get the money for that. I've been doing this. You've seen the ads, and so I saw them in my local grocery store. You know those little Mio containers? This liquid water enhancer type thing? I'm actually surprised that it's kind of tasty in a Kool-Aid kind of way. And I don't know about anyone else, but I'm a big fan of Kool-Aid. I like Kool-Aid. But this was kind of neat. It's not cheap. They're about $4 or $5 for one of these little packages. But this, I've been using this since Saturday, and it's about half full. You only just use a couple of squirts in it. So if you're looking for something, someone mentioned they didn't like the artificial flavor taste of it. I don't really notice that, although I often do in other beverages. So I understand that. But if you're looking for something to make water less boring, because quite frankly, water is boring, check this out. I'm not getting this. They're not advertisers. They follow me on Twitter now, which they really shouldn't do. But check it out. They got a whole bunch of different flavors. This one's berry pomegranate. And they're kind of yummy. I like them. I enjoy them. Oh, Monty says, I'm a big fan of the Mio water flavor products. The store brands, Target and Kroger, taste just as good to me and they're less expensive. We don't have those, unfortunately, up here. So we don't get to. But if I get to a Target and they have that, or Walmart, I'll check that out. So yeah, lots of prizes to give away, lots of emails from you guys too. I always appreciate the emails you guys have sent. Got a great one from one of our original listeners, Mina 27, I think it's Tony Gonzalez, and I'm going to read it almost in its entirety because Tony wrote such a wonderful, touching email. I really appreciate that. The other thing we're going to do, starting off, for you folks who are subscribers, you know you've gotten an email about the starting point. Sorry, the starting point technology. I had pasta for lunch and it's decided it wants to come back. Sorry, I'm sharing too much. Starting point technologies, tips and tricks beginner class for photography, for beginning digital photographers. The class is an online, same as Google Hangouts now. It's going to be a Google Hangouts class. It's an online class that's on demand. So what that means is that whatever time you're ready for the class, that's what time I'll do it. We just happen to be doing it tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Pacific time, Thursday morning, with 3 students. There's room for 2 more. I do a max of 5 students per class. If you're a subscriber, you get 10% off. Send me an email and I'll give you the code. If you've been a subscriber for more than a year, the class is free. I'll do the class for you for free. If you pay your subscription fee for a year in advance, the class is free. Okay, so there's all kinds of ways for you guys to get involved. So because of that, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to start doing some more photography stuff on the show. As I've always said, 90% of the people out there have got a camera, whether it's on their phone or it's a smartphone or it's a point-and-click camera or it's a DSLR. But so many people don't know how to take good pictures. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk on the show, have a segment on each show about exactly that. And we're just going to teach you guys, give you tips and tricks about how to take better pictures on the phone that you already have. Sorry, on the camera that you already have. It's not going to be so much about things like, someone asked me about this before, about bracketing and f-stop and aperture. No, it's not going to be about that kind of stuff. It's going to be about the general rules of photography, the general idea of what you should look for when you're taking pictures. And it'll be fun, entertaining class. So like I said, we're gonna do more of that kind of stuff on the show. The website, by the way, startingpointphotography.com if you want to check it out. The other thing is, I guess I got to say it, just because I've slammed it so much. Okay, I'm not going to say I like Facebook, because the interface of Facebook is freaking awful, but I'm enjoying using Facebook, if for no other reason than I'm in contact with people who aren't on Twitter. A perfect example of it is that my best friend from college, Richard Hench, I got in touch with him via Facebook yesterday, and it was fantastic. I mean, Rich, I love Rich. Rich is the J before J. Rich is the Ian before Ian, the Bill before Bill. He was the guy that I originally hung out with in college, along with Greg and along with Glenn and Carl and Brad and those guys. But Rich was my best friend in college, and we lost touch, like you do, you know. So I like Facebook for that, if nothing else. The interface is still awful. It is fun to post things to it, and we posted. Let me see if I can't grab this real quick. A section of Facebook called My Best Pick. And what it is I'm really enjoying doing this. It's a group I created on Facebook where folks can, I guess you have to be part of Facebook, and what you have to do is join the group or send me an email, and I'll show you how to join the group. And the idea of the group is that it's just, what's your favorite picture of something? It doesn't matter if it's a good picture or not. It's what do you like? One of the things about photography, I'm always telling people, is it's so subjective. You know, what I might think is a good photo, you might not think is a good photo, and that's okay. There's no problem with that whatsoever. But I've been posting, for example, this for those folks who are watching the video, a photo of Dave Hamilton from the Mac Observer, and it's not a great photo. It's a little blurry. It's not what photographers call tack sharp, but I love the emotion of it. Dave is a drummer by vocation, and he plays on a bunch of different bands. He lives in New Hampshire and plays in bands there, and he's the drummer for the Macworld All-Star Band. So he's playing tomorrow night at the Cirque du Mac party. And I just like this. It's got a message from Jim Dalrymple that I forgot to send him I've been sitting here all show long trying to think about what have I forgotten to do, and that's what I forgot to do. I forgot to send Jim the link to the. I've been looking for Jim and wondering why he hasn't gotten into the Google Hangouts, and that's why, because I didn't send him the link. If somebody could send Jim the Google Hangout URL also, we'll see him in a couple minutes. So anyway, that's the idea. The idea is just post what you think is a good picture. I love this picture of Lauren Finkelstein sent of his wife at Disney World in the teacups at Disney World. It's hilarious. It's so cute. He likes this picture, and that's all that's important. That's all that matters is Jim thinks this is a good picture. And if Jim thinks it's a good picture, or if Lauren thinks it's a good picture, it's a good picture. You can't say anything else about that. So it's fun. It's also fun to see what other folks have said, what are the circumstances behind taking the picture, which I think is quite interesting a lot of the time too. Looks like we've got Mr. Dalrymple in our Google Hangouts. Hang on a second. Here's Jim. What of these pictures is Jim? Show in broadcast. That's John. Turn John off. Hide from broadcast. Which one's Jim? There's Jim. Jim. Oh crap! Why can't I hear Jim? God damn it! My audio is up.
Oh, hello.
Hello. There we go. How you doing? You still have power?
I have power.
for much longer? I mean, how bad has it gotten there? Folks, for you folks don't know, Jim is in Nova Scotia, and the entire eastern seaboard from, I think, Massachusetts up is just getting slammed by like a 10-year storm. It's absolutely amazing. Jim, is everything okay there?
Well, no.
No? How much snow is on the ground?
Let's see. A shitload.
A shitload, okay. And in Canada, it's a metric shitload. My sister's in Bridgewater, folks, which is about an hour south of where Jim is. She said they've already got 18 inches of snow on the ground.
Yeah, that was at
4
o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah, and it's still snowing.
And Nicole looked at the weather a little while ago, and it said, 7, 8 o'clock tonight, it's going to calm down a bit, and then 1 o'clock in the morning, blizzard. So it's just going to keep going till tomorrow.
Wow. Welcome to spring in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an epic snowstorm, and this is the kind of snowstorm that we saw when we were kids. You don't see these kind of storms anymore this time of year. Yeah, this is late March or almost April.
Well, they said that we're going to be looking at maybe up to 40 centimeters
Oh my goodness,
in
that's
24 hours. So 40 centimeters is what, 20 inches or something?
no. Well, as long as you guys have power, we're Nova Scotians, we know, just stay indoors, don't go outside, don't drive on the roads, just hunker down and wait for it to go blow over.
Yep, that's all you can do.
I mentioned this on last week's show, and I don't know why you haven't said anything about this, but last week's show was the 20th anniversary of Macintosh Broadcasting and me being on the interwebs. It's also your 20th anniversary. 1994 is when you started in Mac Media, isn't it?
Yeah.
What were you doing before you started in Mac Media?
You know what? I don't smoke in the house. I don't. Oh shit! What meeting is this?
What are you talking?
I don't smoke in the house.
What are you talking about?
I haven't, but I always go to the back door and open up the back door.
Uh-huh.
But the back door broke.
Uh-huh. Oh, you're smoking now.
So I'm downstairs in my studio.
Monique's gonna kick your ass.
So if she finds out.
How's she not gonna find out? She has a nose.
I know. Let's just keep it quiet. Don't talk so loud.
Okay, I'm sorry. You know you have a volume button on your computer. What were you doing before you got involved in the Mac Media 20 years ago?
I was working at a newspaper.
Now, if I remember correctly, you weren't actually a writer. You weren't a journalist in the newspaper, were you? You were working. What were you doing in the newspaper?
Circulation.
Okay. And it was you, Mac Central. You knew Stan before. Both you and Stan worked at the paper, didn't you?
Yep. Yeah, we both worked at the same newspaper, and we had talked about starting a company of some kind, and being able to be our own boss, and that's what we ended up doing.
Do you? I don't know how to put this. Do you regret Stan selling Mac Central to IDG to
No.
Macworld? Do you wish he hadn't done that?
No.
Really? Why not?
It was the best thing at the time.
Why was it the best thing?
Because the whole advertising thing was getting out of hand at that point, and I think that we could see that there was a breaking point coming, and as it turns out, there was.
Yeah.
A little while after we sold, that breaking point was there, and it happened, and luckily we weren't part of it.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of fallout from that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's funny. I don't know if you saw my tweet. I think about 2 weeks ago, I finally, sadly, changed the name of my RSS feed from Mac Central to Macworld, and it was like, you guys, Mac Central hasn't been around for 10 years at least now. But I refused. 99, yeah. So I didn't want to change that RSS feed because it was like that's the last vestige for me of Mac Central. It was really kind of sad typing in Macworld, if only because watching what Macworld IDG, the grown-ups there, did to the Mac Central crew and to what Mac Central represented. I think there's nothing left of Mac Central at Macworld. Not even the idea of what Mac Central was trying to do.
Well, that makes sense though at this point.
It does, but can you encapsulate for the audience who may not know what Mac Central was? What was the point of Mac Central from yours and Stan's and Dave's point of view?
I think that changed quite a bit over the time that we were doing it. But Mac Central was really just about Mac News at that point.
Yep.
We were the first ones to really do a daily news site.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when Stan called me and said, starting Monday we're going to do daily updates instead of the webzine type thing.
Yep.
And I said, that's stupid.
That's right.
No
one will read that crap.
So we were doing daily news updates based on snail mail press releases that we would get. So, it was already a week old, and we would post it, and it would be brand new news. And I remember one point sitting at Stan's house, and we were trying to decide about advertising. What are we going to do with advertising?
Yeah.
And we came up with this, the banner thing, but we had to come up with prices, and we had to do all that. And, it eventually started to work a bit. Then Dave came in, and Dave could sell anything. He was amazing like that. The man was just crazy.
Dave could sell ice to Eskimos.
So at that point, we were the first ones with all those little tiny square banners. Dave made those so that he could sell more spots. So, now they're all over the internet, but we were the first ones to have those. So that was pretty interesting too. But that's really what Mac Central was. I mean, we tried all kinds of different things to report news. Posting as much as we could. One Macworld Expo was probably 96 or 97. One day, I posted 80 stories.
And half of those were from Dennis Sellers.
Almost all of them were from Dennis Sellers.
Dennis, I've never seen anyone. I love Dennis. He's a little odd. I haven't spoken to him in probably 10 years. But there was no one who could spit out a story from a press release faster than Dennis Sellers. He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
He was a machine when it came to spitting out press releases.
Just crazy.
Oh, it was just nuts. Yeah, he'd put 20 stories out before we all met for breakfast.
Yeah.
It was just ridiculous.
So, I mean, Jason Snell said that, at a conference last year, I think it was Singleton, that the first time he ever saw somebody doing a live update at a keynote was me.
Yeah.
So, I think, and now everybody does a live update. You don't even have to be there anymore, and you can do a live update.
Yeah,
that's what
right.
people are doing now.
Which is happening, too. I've seen people do that. TUAW this last time around, I'm going, you sleazeballs. You're taking off content from other live blogs and putting it on your pseudo-live blog. It's like, oh, just kill yourself.
Yeah. But we did live blogs. When I did a live blog from the Apple Expo Paris, and I was on the phone with Peter during the whole keynote, and we were doing a live blog. It was just because I couldn't get access. I couldn't get internet access in the keynote hall.
Okay, wait a second. I can't believe you left me out of that story again. Do you know how Peter was getting that information? I was holding up my cell phone so he could hear Steve Jobs.
No, this was a different one because
but there was one keynote there where I was literally holding, because they didn't broadcast the keynote live. I'm holding my cell phone up. Peter is listening to it and typing the live blog. I was like, this is stupid.
But it worked.
It worked. That's right. People didn't know.
We did a lot of things first.
Yeah.
Back then, and I guess it wasn't hard to do things first because nobody was really doing a whole lot. And then, we're where we are now.
Yeah.
Macworld did its thing with Mac Central, and that's fine.
Is the loop where you think Mac Central would have gone eventually?
No.
Really?
No.
You don't think if you guys had hung in there, you'd eventually morph into what the loop is now?
No.
Interesting.
I don't. Because I don't think that, as much, Stan worried about advertisers and people more than I do.
True.
Which you may think it would be the other way around, but, where I'll come out and say how I feel. He wouldn't. And
well, you're by nature a reporter.
I don't know.
And Stan by nature was a sales guy. And I think that explains it right there.
No, I don't know. I don't know how it all worked, but I wasn't a reporter. You know, that's not what I was trained at, but...
Yeah, I don't mean capital R reporter. I mean, that's just your nature is to say things and report honestly what you think and feel. Stan always had to put things through the filter of, will this hurt my business?
Yeah.
That's fair. No problem with that.
I don't have that filter.
Neither do I. Tell the audience the story of us sitting in Virgil's and Stan up to his armpits in sauce.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that was great. Went in for a meal, and Virgil's is a great place. Yeah. Especially when you get arm deep in the sauce.
There was me, you, Peter Cohen, Stan, Dennis Sellers, and somebody else. I don't remember who the fourth or fifth guy was there, and it was just like I think it's what if you'd given cavemen knives and forks, that's what would have happened. Because we were just barbarians. We all ordered this giant half a cow plate of food and just went, it was disgusting.
It was all over the place. It was just everywhere.
I wish I could find that picture I had of Stan with literally barbecue sauce all over his face, all over his hands, because you can't use a knife and fork with Virgil's.
No.
And they don't give you the way you know what kind of place Virgil's is. They don't give you napkins. They give you towels.
Yeah, actual towels.
Actual real live towels.
Yeah, the towels at Virgil's were better than in my hotel.
That's right, exactly. Because a napkin just wouldn't cut it, man. You just couldn't get to. You couldn't just slurp it up fast enough. Those were fun. It was a lot of fun watching you guys work. That was my first experience being at a Macworld Expo with another organization that was working the show. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh, this would be a lot of fun. I get to hang out with Jim and Stan and these guys. There was no time for you guys to hang out. There was no time when you guys weren't working the show floor in one way, shape, or form. And that taught me to do this stuff well. You've got to be working all the time. You can't sit down. You can't relax. You can't slack off. If you want to do this well, you've got to hit the show floor running and not stop running until your head hits the pillow that night.
And we all had our jobs. You know, everybody knew what they had to do. I mean, Dennis just sat and farted out 50 stories. And, Peter's probably one of the best live update people ever. But Peter's also great at that point, we were looking at IMAX, and, Peter was the gaming guy. So how does this work for gaming? So Peter was great at tearing things apart like that. Mm-hmm. And giving that stuff, and I would drink.
Well, I couldn't find you to drink with you, so.
Yeah, I mean, we all had our things to do, and that worked for quite a while, and that worked even into the Macworld years for quite a while. I was there, I think, 3 weeks. 3 weeks. If I'd have been there 3 weeks more, it would have been 10 years.
Yeah. At Macworld.
At Macworld, yeah.
I didn't realize you'd been at Macworld that long.
Yep, from 1999 to 2009. And
explain again to the audience why they fired you.
I can't even remember. I was drunk, so. When Macworld laid me off, it was I think the second last layoff that they did at that time in 2009, and I made it through like a year of layoffs up until that point.
Yeah.
But it comes a point when
it's hard to argue, though. You're better off, aren't you?
I think so. I mean, I'm not sitting around crying about it. I mean, the day that Jason called me and told me that I was being laid off, I sat down for a few minutes and thought, wow, end of an era for me personally.
Sure.
Now I have to figure out what I'm going to do. And, I started making calls that afternoon, started figuring out what I was going to do. And it was about 4 weeks later that I launched The Loop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I had it pretty much nailed down what I was going to do.
Good. Macworld Expo is this week. You're not at Expo. I'm not at Expo. I got into a bit of a discussion with some folks on Twitter, and I think you and I have talked about this in the past. We won't dwell on it for too long. But is Macworld relevant to the Macintosh community anymore?
Yes.
It is.
It is.
How so?
there are obviously still some companies that that want to be there.
Yeah.
But more than that, I think that there's
I think we
people
just
that want to be
lost
there.
Jim.
What?
Go and broadcast.
All right.
All right, there we go. You're back now. I'm back now. Crap, I can't tell if it's the internet. I don't know, Jim, if that's the problem on your end or on my end. Sorry.
I was still online, so.
You were still online, so yeah. I've been getting that message from Google Hangouts for a while now. My apologies. Hopefully, we'll be able to salvage some of this. The reason why I was asking the question was that Microsoft has a big announcement tomorrow. They're in San Francisco. They're at Macworld Expo is now. The announcement is rumored to be Office for the iPad. Back in the day, they'd be doing that announcement at Macworld Expo.
Right.
So that's what made me ask if it's still relevant to the Macintosh community.
As long as there's people that want to go and take part in the workshops and sessions and the expo that's there, yeah, it's still going to be relevant. I think Macworld has done a good job in the past few years of changing itself and making itself more relevant to the people that want to be there.
Okay.
I was actually going to try and make it there this year.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. But then iTunes Festival happened in Austin.
Yeah.
That's more my thing.
Yeah, that's right. And NAB, as you said before, it's also more your thing.
NAMM.
So, NAMM. I'm sorry, NAMM.
But iTunes Festival, the music, all that stuff, that's more my thing than Macworld Expo is. So maybe I'll try and make it there next year. Who knows?
I still like the idea of Expo. I just don't believe that our friends at IDG know what the hell to do anymore. Just the fact that they changed the show dates 3 times, that shows that they don't know what the hell they're doing. That they don't seem to be able to get a handle on, even though the Macintosh community is, let's say conservatively, 10 times bigger than what it was in 2000, the show isn't getting 10 times bigger. The show's getting smaller.
But
why is if there's more Mac users than ever before, why is the show getting smaller?
Because it's a different show.
How so?
Well, I mean, before you had Apple there. What if you still had Apple there? Then it would be right.
Yeah.
Right. But now you're talking about growing two different types of things.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about growing Macworld Expo with Steve Jobs keynotes,
mm-hmm.
as opposed to growing a Macworld Expo without Apple altogether and without many of the bigger companies. I mean, remember before you would walk into the Expo part and you would see Epson and HP and Apple and Microsoft,
Canon and Nikon used to show.
I mean, they would have huge booths there.
Yep.
That stuff isn't part of it anymore. I don't even know. Does anybody even buy cameras anymore? I mean,
but to that point, Apple isn't at CES, and yet the Ion Pavilion at CES is growing every year.
But CES is a completely different scope. You can't compare.
It's not. Yes, you can. They're all consumers.
It's every consumer electronics company in the world compared to a niche market of Mac accessories and software. I mean, those are 2 different things. You can look at the music business with NAMM, and it's still going, but every music company in the world can go to NAMM. So there's a lot of conferences that have shut down. I mean, I remember going to Internet World.
Mm-hmm, sure.
And it was a monster thing held at the Staples Center in LA. And it's gone.
Arcsign says, Sean, ask Jim if Macworld magazine is relevant. That's what I thought you were asking. My answer is a flat no.
I don't read it. That's just me. I mean, I tend to read more people these days, and we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
I don't read the New York Times either, but if Brian Chen has an article, I may read that because it's Brian.
Yeah.
I think there's different ways to look at magazines and websites and writing these days. And for me, it's about people. I like some people. I don't like others. I don't like to read some people.
I think one of the downsides of Macworld magazine is they've lost that cachet of being for the upper echelon of Mac, not IT people, but professional Mac users. Now it's sort of dropped down to the magazine has dropped down to the writing level of average everyday consumers. And that's fine. There's no problem with that. There's more of them than there are of anything else. But the professional aspect of it, I think, has dropped quite a bit. And I don't think it's relevant at all. I would argue that, to a certain degree, maybe Macworld Expo can be considered more relevant to the Macintosh community than Macworld Magazine is. Plus, I think the magazine has spread itself so thin with now they're part of PC World and Tech Hive, and the stuff they do on the website just pisses people off on a regular basis with the unclosable video. Autoplay and the ads for. When I go to Macworld Magazine, I don't want to see an ad for Samsung anything. Okay? Now, I'm not being a snob there. I'm at Macworld to see Mac stuff. I get that there are ad people in the triangle, the ad people that are at the top, and they're selling ads for PC World and Tech Hive and Macworld, and those ads show up. But come on, show some respect to your audience. Don't be showing them ads for the Sony Vaio. That's just stupid.
Well, I mean, there are still some good people at Macworld. Like, I think Google's creepy, but there are still some good people at Google. When you look at Phil Michaels and Dan Morin and Serenity and Jimmy Galbraith, in the lab.
Yep.
I mean, Jason does have a good team to work with. So it's whittled down a whole lot. And, I feel bad for all those people that just lost their jobs,
a
little while ago, because I've been through it. So I know, what they went through, and it's hard. It's very hard.
Here's my biggest indictment of Macworld Expo this week. I was watching the TUAW broadcast, and they asked the question that everyone asks. If you're a podcaster interviewer, this is an obvious question. You ask these people. And remember, these are people who are in the media. They get the same press releases that I get. They get the same. They're on the same IDG mailing list that everyone else is, and they get all the same press releases. And
I was taken off of that list.
You were taken. Well, I sign up every year so I can get the press releases because I'm interested. It says, "What are you looking forward to?" And both co-hosts said, "I don't know." There's nothing at the show that they've seen in the press releases that they can say, yes, I'm really looking forward to this company or that company. That's not a good sign.
But see, that's what I'm saying. It's different. I mean, if you ask me if I was going to Macworld, what I was looking forward to, I would say, seeing Peter. Going out.
They're talking about products on the show floor.
Having a drink, and so that's what I would be looking forward to. I wouldn't be looking forward to a specific product.
But they didn't even say that. These guys didn't even say hanging out with friends. Yeah, I've always said, I've tried for years, I've always wanted to have what I call the unconference, which is Macworld without the exhibitors. Because the most fun we ever had at Macworld was hanging out.
It was true.
Was meeting people in bars or on the show floor and sitting down and chatting and seeing listeners and readers and talking to you and Chris Breen and Peter and our colleagues in the media and chatting and gossiping and all that kind of stuff. That was almost, as you got older, as you got more used to this stuff, as you knew the ropes, almost more important and certainly more fun than wandering on the show floor looking for stories.
Well, people would ask me if I liked going to the trade shows. No, I don't, because it's like 5 days worth of work in 2 days, and then you kind of get a rest.
If you're not utterly exhausted by the end of one of these shows, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Your employer is paying you too much money because you should be by the third day. We generally showed up at Macworld Expo maybe a day, 2 days beforehand, and then you go to that night with friends. You had some meetings on the Monday. Tuesday was keynote day, and that was it. By Thursday afternoon, you were dead to the world.
Oh yeah, it was crazy.
No.
And things are a bit different for me now, the way that I do things. Um, so and when I go to NAMM or when I went to iTunes Festival, um, you helped look after the site, the loop. So
Yep.
that part of it is and Dave. So that part of it for me is taken off so that I can concentrate on what I'm doing there.
Sure.
Those days are busy. You're running around. I have an interview at 12 o'clock. Okay, it's a half an hour late. Okay, now it's been postponed. So I'm sitting in the coffee shop trying to do as much work as I can get done. And then, okay, what your interview that was an hour from now is right now. You've got 5 minutes to get here.
That's
So
right.
then you run and they still take an extra half an hour. So your day, one way or another, is eaten up in doing things. And then you write those stories up. So it's fun, but it's not the joy and that everybody thinks it is.
I always tell folks my first Apple Expo in Paris, I saw the Eiffel Tower as I was flying out of Paris.
Yeah.
That was, I could have been in Paris, Texas, for all I knew.
Yeah.
Because you're not there to sightsee. The wives and girlfriends of these folks. You get to go. No, I don't get to go. Yeah, you'll see me tweet about the dinner I'm at, hanging out with friends, but you also don't see them up till 3 o'clock in the morning, getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning for breakfast meetings and lunch meetings and blah blah blah. They're tough. It's good to see Monty in the IRC chat room. Monty is in San Francisco at Macworld right now. He says, I'm at Macworld Mac IT this week. I was in Mac IT sessions all day today. I got a fair amount of useful to me information. The show floor is still a useful thing to see Mac-specific products. So the show floor isn't open yet, so hopefully we'll get reports from Monty about that kind of stuff. Let's move on. Sorry, go ahead.
I just think that we have to remember that, Paul Kent has been saying for years that Macworld has changed. I think that they finally got something in the past year or two, so that they changed it so that it makes sense.
Okay, that's fair. I'd like to see it change more, though. One of the things you look at the speaker group, and it's the same old white guys that have been there for the last 10 years. You look at the stage, and it's the same people from Macworld magazine doing the same podcast, doing the same things as before. Let's do something different. It just, to me, it's the same people doing the same thing. Yeah. And I like those people too, by the way. But let's change it up. Speaking of changing it up, this has got to be an interesting story from all the different angles. Oculus defends their sale to Facebook. For those folks who don't know, the Oculus Rift, which I think is just a completely idiotic device to begin with, got sold to Facebook. There's so many angles to this. Why did Facebook buy Oculus? Why did Oculus sell to Facebook? And then the really interesting one to me is all these Kickstarter people whining about the fact that they, from their point of view, brought Oculus to the point where they could get bought for $2 billion from Facebook. Give us your take on, first of all, the sale itself, but secondly, the Oculus defense of the sale.
I wouldn't defend it.
No kidding!
You know what I would be saying? I just got $2 billion. Screw you. I'm drunk in Vegas. I just spent 10 grand at the blackjack table on one hand and I lost it. Defend that.
Exactly.
I just don't get it. I mean, they don't owe anybody a defense because Facebook never plans on making money off of the hardware. So they don't owe anybody anything. They got their money. Go.
No. And I know the answer to this question, they're not owed, the Kickstarter people who supported them aren't owed anything, are they? Except an Oculus Rift, whatever. If you supported their Kickstarter for $10 and they promise you a T-shirt, if you got the T-shirt, you're done.
Yeah,
that's it. That's what they promised. They didn't say they were going to shut the company down once the Kickstarter got funded.
Yeah.
If they went through all the hard work and developed this, and all you did was give them $10 or $100 or $200, whatever it might be, and you got the product, you're done. You have no right to say a goddamn word about what they do after they fulfilled the obligation to you.
Yeah, I mean there's more to it than launching a Kickstarter project. There's obviously a lot of technology in there, that they had to do. So
that brings up the question: Why do you think Facebook bought these guys? Is
I don't
Mark
know.
Zuckerberg just drunk and stoned all the time?
I want to go out some night with him.
Because I'm thinking, and again, I've admitted before, I'm not the most imaginative guy in the world, but Facebook like this? No, thank you. I just can't imagine.
Well, Zuck said in, what was it, Reuters yesterday, that they were going to use Oculus or the technology or something for advertising and selling virtual goods.
This is going to be Facebook's version of Google Glass, isn't it?
I don't know, because they said in that article that they had no plans to make money on the hardware.
Oh no, I don't think they will make money in the hardware. No, I think what they're doing is going to take that technology, miniaturize it, so Facebook will have a competitor to Google Glass in 3 to 5 years.
I don't know.
It's not going to be the big gaming goggles, because the other thing that cracks me up is that how everyone's so excited about this. When Jim and I, and I'm sure lots of folks in our audience, are old enough to remember the last time VR was big, back in the late 19th century. Yeah. With Jaron Lanier and everything. Oh, this virtual reality is going to be the next big thing. No, you put the glasses on, you threw up. You just people don't want virtual reality. Gamers, yes, I can see it when it comes to gamers.
You put somebody into an epileptic seizure or something.
This is not going to be something you see people walking around the streets with. If you think that big Oculus Rift thing that you've seen pictures of is going to be what Facebook is going to put a Facebook logo on, you're wrong. That's not what's going to happen. Not what's going to happen at all. Folks, we're going to let Jim go. We got the interview with the folks from Gazelle coming up a little later. Jim, hope you and the family stay safe in the snowstorm, and you guys hopefully you'll get through this on the other side as good Nova Scotians will. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Sean.
Have a good night. See ya.
Bye.
That was Jim Dalrymple from The Loop, loopinsight.com. Again, he's also celebrating 20 years in the Macintosh community. So everyone say a big thank you and congratulations to Jim Dalrymple. Up next, we're going to talk to the folks at Gazelle, Elisa Voorhis. Elisa is the senior tech analyst for the folks at Gazelle.com. And I was asking at the beginning of the show, for you folks who came in a little later, how do you deal with your old devices, whether they're laptops, desktops, iMacs, MacBooks, iPhones, iPads? What do you do with them? Do you pass them down to family and friends? Do you sell them on Craigslist? Do you turn them into Apple for their deal, to Amazon for their deal, eBay? Do you use a service like Gazelle or some other kind of company? I'm curious to know how you guys use these services, how you guys get rid of or sell your old devices. And we'll talk about that. Send me an email to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. I'm going to talk to Elisa Voorhis from Gazelle right after these messages. This is Your Mac Life.
Your Mac Life.
Welcome back, folks. This is Your Mac Life. I am Sean King. On the phone now with Gazelle's senior tech analyst, Elisa Voorhis. Elisa, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you, Sean?
I am good. We were saying in the pre-interview that her name sounds like it's something from Game of Thrones, which is kind of cool. I just got this boring Irish name, Sean King. So whenever someone has a cool name, I point it out. Elisa, give us a little bit of background of who Gazelle is. Folks, the website is Gazelle, yes, like the antelope deer-like thing, Gazelle.com. Gazelle started in 2008, didn't they, Elisa?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. We've been around for almost 6 years. Mm-hmm. It is an electronics sort of trade-in. We provide a fast, easy, secure way for just regular consumers to get cash for their used and well-loved electronics.
I'm looking at the Gazelle.com website. You guys have done 1.5 million trade-ins and paid out over $100 million to customers. Those are huge numbers.
Yep, they absolutely are. And for the most part, I think we've done a good job because I think 9 out of 10 people give us top ratings. So, yeah, that's a lot of money to a lot of folks.
Full disclosure to the audience, I've used Gazelle on 3 separate occasions. I obviously, like everyone else, has a choice of the way to do things. And I know folks will say, someone will email me or they'll say something in the chat room, oh, I got more money off eBay or I got more money off Craigslist. Well, that's fine, but I get the money in my pajamas. You know, I didn't have to go meet people.
Exactly.
Didn't have to negotiate with anyone. Give folks the overall idea of how they can sell their electronics through Gazelle.
Sure. First things first, go to gazelle.com like you have, and you just look up your gadget. You browse through the manufacturers, the carriers, and you select your model. You give us a relative assessment of the condition of your device. There are only 3 choices. It's broken, so it's cracked, it doesn't work at all, etc. It's in good condition, so that means it's got some wear or tear, or it's in perfect condition, so it looks like it's right out of the box, never been used, and we will provide a quote. And then we send a box. We pay for shipping, so you don't have to worry about anything like that. You just stick the item in the box, stick the box in the mail, and we'll receive it, we inspect it, and then you get paid.
How often does the inspection match up with the quote? In other words, are folks going to be disappointed by Gazelle saying, no, you said it was in good shape, but it's cracked or smashed or whatever it might be? How often do those two match up?
Oh, the vast majority of people assess their devices correctly, so people are generally very honest. And we do adjust offers if we find a device is cracked where the customer said it was in perfect condition, etc. But we also adjust them up. So if a customer sends us something and they said it was in good or broken condition, we decide that, no, this is beautiful. We do adjust offers and give people more money when that happens.
How does that work from the customer point of view? If I say it's in good, but you guys say it's in poor, or vice versa. Do you send an email first to say, hey, are you okay with this, or how does that work?
Absolutely, yeah. If we change the offer and we offer less money, we do send an email. A customer can say, oh, absolutely not. That's not what I wanted. Send me my thing back, and we'll send it back. No questions asked.
When customers do this, and folks, obviously we're a Mac show, and we're talking primarily about iPhones and iPads and things like that, but I'm surprised at the wide range of items. I've always thought of Gazelle as being just a place to get rid of my old iPhones or iPads, but give folks a sense of the range of devices that Gazelle will take in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do accept many Apple products, so our span of Apple products that we accept is greater than the span of other operating systems and manufacturers. So yeah, we accept Apple computers in addition to iPads and iPhones and iPods, etc. We don't accept other sorts of computers, but we do accept Android tablets, Android phones, BlackBerries, Windows phones, and Microsoft Surface tablets as well.
Wait, you said you don't accept other computers other than Apple computers? Why not?
No, it's just a fragmentation thing. It's much more manageable, and we can provide customers a much better experience when our catalog is sort of curated to the most popular products. We find that if we go out and accept the full gamut of computers, just because how segmented specifications are, we really can't provide as good an experience because we can't focus on what we're doing with these products as well.
Do you have a sense of the percentage of resale value? I'm surprised how high my iPhone, how much money my iPhone gets on resale, even older ones, a 4 or 4S, those sorts of things. Is there a percentage that folks can sort of take a guess at, 75%, 50% of the price you paid for it?
It really depends on the model. I mean, if you just bought a 5S, obviously that's going to have the highest resale value right now, just because that's how the market goes. I mean, as soon as a product is released, person purchases it and opens the box, it starts to depreciate. It's kind of like a used car. As soon as you drive it off the lot, the price of the thing goes down. And so the newer the product, the closer to the market price Gazelle will offer.
But still, Gazelle offers a fairly, I think, fair. As I said earlier, people will say they can get a better price on Amazon or Craigslist, but for the fact that you're just doing it in your pajamas, it's I've always been very very impressed with what I think of as being a fair price for my old devices.
Yeah, well, you're an Apple user, I assume 100%.
Yes.
And so Apple does have the best resale value of any of the products we do accept.
Really?
Yeah, they just retain their value. It's like they're like a premium or a luxury brand in the whole scope of consumer electronics, I would say.
That being said, so folks will go to Gazelle.com. By the way, I'm talking to Alyssa Voorhis, the senior tech analyst for the folks at Gazelle.com. What happens afterwards? You guys are kind enough to send me a box. The box shows up. It's nicely packaged. I drop my iPhone in the packaging. I give it off to the mail guy or the FedEx guy. What happens next?
Oh, sure. Well, the mail guy or the FedEx guy, probably mail guy if it's you sending it to us, sends it to we have a world-class processing facility in Louisville. It's really central location, so we make sure we can get folks their money as fast as possible. We do an inspection of the device to make sure you said it was the correct model, the correct condition, etc. And we do a full data wipe and factory restore. So there's no concern about data security, any call logs, any personal data will get totally wiped off the device.
And that's even though you've asked the customer to do that ahead of time, you do it again, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. While we do encourage customers to both, back up their data and then wipe it, we do it again just to make sure that there are absolutely, there's nothing compromised, because it's a big trust issue. I mean, we don't want to be sending devices into the world that might have customer data on them. That would just be a nightmare.
The other thing about the shipping aspect of it is it insured if it gets lost along the way? Because my concern is always that if someone knows what a Gazelle box looks like, they go, oh, there's an iPhone in here or an iPad in here. Are they insured, or is that the customer's responsibility to make sure they're insured and tracked?
Oh, because we're paying for the shipping, we do take care of things. I mean, if a customer, if we receive an empty box, and we have, we generally will talk to the customer and make sure that we work out, compensation for that.
Okay, good. So it shows up in Louisville. You guys have done a data wipe. The thing that always confuses me is there just a big stack of iPhones there in St. Louis? Sorry, in Louisville that you guys are holding on to? What happens to the phone after all these kinds of things?
We have a giant pile of iPhones, and we sit on top of them and laugh. No, once we own the devices, once we purchase them from you, and we do sell them, and our model is to sell them across as many channels as possible, and that way we can get the most money for them and ultimately pay the folks who are trading in their devices the most money. So we sell about half in the U.S. To both wholesalers here, and we sell a few on retail outlets like eBay and Amazon, just to make sure that we're getting the cream of the crop for the best prices. And then the other half we sell overseas. We focus on getting them into emerging markets where there's really an insatiable demand for high-end tech, where the folks there might not have the opportunity to buy these devices otherwise. So it's a mix of wholesale, retail, and in the U.S. and internationally.
I always have this mental image. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but the Super Bowl has two teams, and they make up the T-shirts ahead of time. And the T-shirts of the losing team, that say Super Bowl winner, they're not, get sent to Africa as used clothing kind of thing. I always have this mental image that my iPhone, that I've sold to you guys, now some happy guy in Kuala Lumpur is using it. I just like the idea that these things aren't just recycled for parts, but they are actually being sold whole to some folks in, as you said, emerging markets, or as we unpolitically correct call them, the third world.
Yeah, well, I mean, reuse is far more sustainable than recycling. I mean, recycling is important, but that's sort of an end-of-life thing for a device, and all these devices in our catalog, they have a whole lot of life left in them, and to just part them out would be wasteful. I mean, better than ending up in a landfill, but not as good as somebody, using it and really having the opportunity to enjoy the technology.
This may be one of those questions that you're not allowed to ask, but can you give us sort of an idea of how many end up in landfills, percentage-wise?
Oh, of the devices we accept?
Yeah.
Oh, no, no, no. We have a recycling partner, so anything that we deem unsaleable gets recycled, and here in the U.S.
But is it a small minority? Is it 1%? Is it 10%? Just again, maybe you can tell me to go pound sand, and you're not telling me that.
It's a fraction of 1%.
Is it that small? Really interesting.
Small, yes.
But I'm curious. I'm curious to know of from the customer point of view, how many are people just dumping on Gazelle? It's broken here. Give me $10 for this thing. Versus how many are actually working perfectly good iPhones, but people just want the latest and greatest one, or they've got an extra one, or whatever it might be. So you're saying that the vast majority of certainly iPhones and iPads that Gazelle takes in are fully working devices.
No, not necessarily.
No?
We do pay for broken because some of the wholesale partners we have are refurbishers, and they are very happy to get these devices because sometimes, a broken device might just mean it needs a new digitizer or some other part that's not terribly expensive. And so what is in, a customer's eyes a broken device, in our buyer's eyes might be, a great deal. So we get about 30 to 40% broken devices. But we do have compelling, broken is sort of a broad term, but we do pay a pretty compelling price for broken iPhones and Galaxy S3s and 4s and iPads.
How do you guys deal with potentially stolen iPhones or iPads? It seems like that would be kind of an easy thing to do, that if you don't have any sort of way to make sure that I've wiped the data from it, so as a crook, I don't got to wipe the data. How do you guys know on your end that the device is or isn't stolen?
Right. Well, that's another thing. Just like data security, lost and stolen, sort of security is also super important. We partner with a company called Recipro, and we essentially send them the serial number of the device and say, has this device been declared lost or stolen? And if it has, then we absolutely do not pay it out. We do not buy lost or stolen devices because that would be a liability nightmare.
Do you stick the cops on the person?
We do. Yes, we will interface with the proper authorities about lost and stolen devices.
How do you deal with people who are stupid?
How do you deal with people who are stupid?
I asked this question because I hold in my hand my old iPhone 4S, and I thought, well, no, I've got the 5S now, so I can sell on Gazelle. Like I have my other devices, my old iPhone 4S. So I turn it on and ask me for my login code, and I type the number in. I don't have the number. I don't know what the number is. I've forgotten the number, so I can't unlock this phone. It's not stolen. Obviously I own it. I'm holding it in my hands. Can you guys deal with that? In other words, can you help me out here, Alyssa?
Yeah. Are you talking about just a normal passcode?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's easy to deal with. That's something that can be taken care of during a restore.
Okay.
Sometimes it gets more complicated when you get into the iOS 7 activation lock, which essentially ties a Apple device running iOS 7 to the iCloud, and the device will ping Apple and make sure that the activation lock is on if Find My iPhone is on. And that we do need to communicate with the customer about and ask them to remove their device from Find My iPhone when they send it, or the iCloud.
That's the problem. It says I have to deactivate Find My iPhone from the iPhone, but I can't get on the iPhone to deactivate Find My iPhone. Right.
Well, you can deactivate it if you go into your iCloud on
and take it off from there.
And you just take it off from there. Yep. So it's totally fine. It's if a customer forgets, that doesn't mean they're stupid. It's just forgetfulness, or maybe we didn't communicate that clearly enough for them, because if they're less tech savvy. I sometimes forget to put my glasses on in the morning, so you can't blame them. It's certainly not stupidity.
One of the things that a lot of folks might be curious about, we've heard about this issue less recently, but certainly more in a year or 2 years ago, is unintentional water damage to the phone. Apple had these little sensors in there that even if you went out in a humid environment, I live in Vancouver, British Columbia, which is humid 12 months out of the year, some of the phones are coming back as water damage. Is that a concern for Gazelle? Is that something that would lower the value of my phone, even though I can't check the phone to see if it's been water damage?
Well, if the phone still functions perfectly well with water damage, and there is no indication with a watermark sensor saying that the device has been watermarked, then we'll still pay out a working price for that phone. I mean, if it's messed up or there's actual physical evidence that the device is water damaged, then we couldn't honor a good condition quote because the thing it's actually broken.
I've often told people, as nice as it is, don't put engraving on your iPhone or your iPad, because that, to me anyway, lowers the value. If it says "Love Pookie" on the back, I can't sell it on Craigslist. How do you guys deal with that? Does that lower the price, in fact, from what Gazelle would offer if it's engraved with "Love Pookie" on the back? I don't know why I came with Pookie. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I mean it's still a working device where we might not consider it perfect condition. We would certainly consider a device with an engraving in good condition. And again, that's another data security thing where if it's got a phone number or something, we remove the engraving, and that does scratch the area that was engraved in a point where it's not quite as beautiful. But yeah, it's certainly in good condition.
I guess the point I'm trying to get across to the audience is that you've got all kinds of options with Gazelle. You can
certainly.
You guys want the devices, so you'll work with the customer in order to get the device in with a fair price for everyone involved.
Absolutely. I mean, we pay for many broken models. If it's engraved, that's, like I said, it's totally a non-issue. We want as many devices as we can get. So that there should be no reason not to go to Gazelle to trade in. There's no commitment. You can go in and find a quote, and if you're not happy, we don't require you to send the device in. And if you send it in and we reassess for some reason, if we decide it's broken or it's the wrong model, you don't even have to leave it with us. You can say no, send it back. We want everyone to be happy. We want to deliver a crazy awesome customer experience. That's in our mission statement. I
got a great email from Jim in Miami asking about when's the best time to sell his previous iPhone. I know we don't know that, but does Gazelle see a ramp up as rumors ramp up? Most of the time we're assuming that Apple's going to announce a new iPhone in late September, early October. Right. Do you see a ramp up of people coming to Gazelle.com in order to get quotes before the rumor or after the Apple announcement?
Well, usually we see a huge number of people coming on announcement day. We call the iPhone launches Christmas here at Gazelle. But we have a 30-day price lock, so any time around that you can go ahead and get your quote, and that price will be good for 30 days. Okay. So generally Apple's pretty good about sending its invitation out, and everyone knows what's going on. And so even though there might be only, 10 or so days from announcement to release, there's enough time beforehand to really get your quote, and you can just sit back, relax for 30 days, and then send in your device at the end.
Wait a minute, you said 30 days. So
30-day price lock, yep.
So that's kind of interesting in the sense that if I know I've got my Apple invite, I know they're going to announce a new iPhone tomorrow, I can go get a quote today, and that's going to be good for 30 days, even if... Right. Really?
Yeah, of course.
I hadn't realized that you guys offered that much leeway. So I could sit back and wait for other companies to sort of price match or get better quotes.
Right. I mean, if you really want to, we encourage you to do so. I mean, we provide a very good experience, so we hope you choose us. But by all means, shop around.
Well, like I said, I've always told people that I prefer using Gazelle, if only because I'm antisocial and don't like human beings. I don't want to go out there. I don't want to go to meet some stranger in a Starbucks kind of thing and have him haggle over the phone, or, God forbid, something happen. I just told this guy, I've got a brand new iPhone here. Please steal it from me, kind of thing. So maybe some people aren't comfortable with that. And like I said, maybe you can get a better deal on eBay. Maybe you can get a better deal shopping around. But I speak from experience. It doesn't get easier than using Gazelle. It's just mind-numbingly simple. I kept, my very first one, I think, was my old 3GS. I kept clicking around thinking, where's the catch? This is too easy. These guys, there's something wrong here, but there isn't. I get the quote. You guys send me the box. And generally, I want to guesstimate it's about 2 to 3 weeks afterwards that a check shows up, or
Yep.
is there faster ways? What other ways of paying out?
We have 3 payment options. I mean, you can get the check that there is a bit more time for the check processing.
Sure.
Generally we send the payment 3 to 5 days after the device is received. Sometimes it's as fast as 1 day, especially if you pick an electronic payment form. We also have PayPal, so you can just get cash into your PayPal account. Or if cash isn't a huge deal for you, you can get an Amazon card, and that would be 5% above the trade-in value.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
For choosing Amazon. Yep.
So for those folks who are big Amazon shoppers, you'll give them an Amazon gift card for 5% above the quote.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You also, folks, to keep an eye out for this, and maybe Gazelle doesn't want me to say this, but on a fairly regular basis, you'll often see Gazelle offer you an extra $10 for your device. If you, I think it's usually I see them around a month, 2 months before assumed Apple sales. So if you don't need the money right now, maybe you want to wait a little bit. Again, I'm sure Gazelle doesn't want me to say this. Don't sell it right away. Hold on to it until Gazelle offers some nice deals. That's what I've always done too. I've always gotten the extra $10.
Yeah, I mean you can hold on to it, but it is important to remember too that the prices while we do price lock for 30 days, if you don't get your quote, prices do depreciate over time. So it might be a gamble holding out. We do encourage frequent trading, but you can also get the $10 for referring a friend. Okay. So you can get a $10 bonus if you tell your friend, hey, use Gazelle, they get a $10 bonus, you get a $10 bonus, and everyone's super happy. So that's another way to sort of beef up your cash.
You have lots of options, folks, on selling your old devices. As I said before, my preferred method is Gazelle.com, so I really appreciate them coming on and talking to me today. We've been talking to Alyssa Voorhis. She is the senior tech analyst for the folks at Gazelle.com. Melissa, thanks very much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
That was Alyssa. My apologies. Thanks very much for the folks at Gazelle for doing that interview. I appreciate it. Get emails from you guys, as always. I love getting emails from you folks. John Kalon up there in Canada. I think, John, you're in Calgary. Says, old Mac iOS devices, I usually keep them, but occasionally will hand them down to family members. And Ruchana Patty in the IRC chat room says, I usually give my old Macs away or sell them dirt cheap after about 5 years to friends using PCs who end up telling me my old Mac is faster than the newer PC they'd been using. Could be given to a PC person who's afraid to try switching to a Mac or kept telling me they can't afford a Mac. Always gets them hooked once they try a Mac. They usually end up buying another Mac the next time around. I've given away Macs even older than 6 or 7 years that are left over from work. I've given those to young kids to use or to the elderly. They're fine for web surfing, emailing, other light stuff, just no heavy games or making complex videos. But Patty, thanks very much for that email. I forgot. I've got all these prizes to give away. I'm so stupid. I'm sorry. For you folks who are tuning into the archive or listening, if you're listening live and not in the IRC chat room, you missed out because I offered up 2 prizes to the nice folks in our IRC chat room. Mark Schott in Yellingup, Western Australia, asked me to, on his behalf, re-gift the prize that he won on the show last week, the most excellent Primo Vista bamboo iPhone speaker dock. So we did that on your behalf. Thanks very much, Mark, for allowing us to re-gift that, and for the folks at Primo Visto for letting us give away those prizes. We also got a re-gifted prize from Glovely. The folks at was that right? Yes, Glovely. And Mo in the IRC chat room won a nice pair of the Glovely Classic Touch gloves. So, Mo, send me an email also with your glove size. Go to the Glovely website, glove.ly is the website. Pick up the size of the classic glove you want to get, and send me an email with your shipping address, and I'll pass it on to the next folks at Glovely. We've also got, might as well give stuff away now. I got a tease for you guys. I got the story of me getting thrown out of Apple Expo Paris, so hang on there for a second. Let me get to my list of folks, and this is the virtual hat. This is for all you folks who are smart enough to sign up. Either go to the website at yourmaclifeshow.com, and at the top of the page, next to the logo, is an entry form, a link to the entry form. Fill that entry form out. It sends me an email. I drop your name into a virtual hat. We had 2 people who won on last week's show who used a fake email address. Don't don't do that. I can't. I've got no way to communicate with you to give you your prize, because if it's a fake email address, I can't contact you. So you won, but you lost. And if you listen to the show later, this is a week later, and you write me and go, I won. No, you're not winning it. I'm sorry. No, you just don't get it. So I'm going to hand out a copy now of the excellent Topaz Labs. They're giving away a complete collection of photography enhancement and editing software. I'm just going to look over here and scroll through my list of our 1,800 subscribers and entry form winners. And when it stops, it's going to stop at Leslie Hollis. Leslie, congratulations, Les, in the IRC chat room. Les, you've won the complete collection of photography enhancement and editing software thanks to our friends at topazlabs.com. The nice folks at MacFun have 2 of the creative kits to give away. That's really great software from MacFun, MacPhun.com. They make some really neat stuff. So if you are interested in any of that stuff from MacFun, if you don't win, check it out on your own. This is going to go out to, where to go? Brad Strickland. Brad, I believe, Brad, if I remember correctly, where are you? I think Brad is down there in the United States, in the Atlanta, Georgia area, I believe. Brad, congratulations. You've won a copy of the Creative Suite from the nice folks at Topaz Labs. And also going to go to David Bridle, or Brittle. Sorry, David, I'm not exactly sure of the spelling of your name, but you've won a copy of the creative kits from the folks at MacFun. I slighted these guys on last week's show, and my apologies for doing that. The folks at Kinez.com, they make these really nice Napa leather Caslet iPhone wallets that you folks who would listen know I'm a big fan of iPhone wallets, and I've heard from other folks that these Caslet wallets are really nice. So my apologies for slighting the folks at Kinez. I won't do that again. This is their wallet for the iPhone 5S, and then they've given us 10. I gave away 5 on last week's show. We got 5 more to give away on this week's show. So real quick, I'm going to go through this list of people. First of all, this is going to go out to, wait for it to stop. Still scrolling. David Schaefer. David, you've won a Caslet iPhone wallet. Congratulations to David. Just put David's name in there. Also, the next person on the list is Robert Ballinger. Robert, you've won one of the iPhone wallets from the folks at Kinez, KYNEZ.com, for you folks who are wondering which company I'm talking about. This is going to go out also to Thomas Reiser. Thomas, you're our 3rd winner of the Kinez Caslet wallet, leather wallet for the iPhone. Also, this one's going to go out to, where'd it go? Thomas Hofstetter. Oh, Thomas. Thomas is in CH. I believe Thomas is in, I want to say, Switzerland. I think that's where Thomas is. And finally, James Belomo. James is, I know, down there in Redmond, Washington. So those are the 5 Kinez HBS-style Napa trim Caslet iPhone wallets. Thanks very much to you guys for giving away those to the show. Appreciate it. I teased you guys about this. I said, there's so many stories from the 20 years of Your Mac life of me being a broadcaster on the intrawebs that I ran out of time. I didn't want to make the show go too long in last week's show, so I unintentionally held back some. My very first Macworld Expo. For those of you who have ever gone to a Macworld Expo, unless you're an exhibitor or some sort of official member of the media, you don't get on the show floor while they're still building the show floor. You know, when you walk in, when Monty walks into the show floor on Thursday morning, it'll be brand spanking new and clean and all looking pretty. In the days beforehand, the place is a madhouse. You'd be amazed at how the worker bees can get these things up in about 24 hours. Generally, the expo hall that you walk into was put together about 36 to 24 hours before you walked in the door. It's incredible. So we used to, because we had exhibitor badges, kind of not sneak onto the show floor, but go onto the show floor and take pictures of this stuff. So Apple Expo in Paris, Jay and I are on the show floor, and we go see the guys at Griffin. And we're wandering around, and we've seen the Griffin booth was the second biggest booth next to Apple's. I think they're actually physically, literally next to Apple. And so we're hanging out with the Griffin guys, and we're talking, and the usual stuff. And I turn around, and I'd seen this before. The Apple booth, for you folks who are watching the video, this is what the Apple booth looks like before the show floor opens on a show day. What Apple does is they cover the entire booth in black, in this black cloth. And you can see in the picture, there's actually security at various points so that you can't peek through the curtain to see what's Apple's doing back there. And that's fine. That's no big deal. Apple, is good at keeping secrets and likes to keep their secrets. So I took this picture. So I took a picture of black cloth. Okay? Let's just keep that in mind. I suddenly hear someone yelling in French. I don't know French. I have no idea what they're yelling. So we turn. Actually, it wasn't we. It was just me. I think Jay was still talking to the Griffin guys. I turn, and there's a security. There's a guy in a suit, and two guys dressed like the security guy you see in the picture here, and they're walking fairly briskly towards me. And I'm looking around like, wow, what's going on? They get to me, and the guy's wagging his finger at me in French. Sorry, I don't speak French. Could you speak English? And the guy started speaking. What are you doing? I'm just standing here. What are you taking pictures of? Oh, just stuff. You can't take pictures of that. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. And this is what I'm thinking in my head. I didn't realize that black cloth was some sort of top secret. What company are you with? And at this point, I thought, I don't want to throw my friends at Griffin under the bus and get them in trouble from this little weasel. I had my Your Mac Life badge on. So I said I had my Griffin badge or exhibitor badge in my back pocket. I said, I'm a member of the media. You can't take these pictures. You have to leave. I'm sorry, you're throwing me out? Yes, and you have to delete the pictures too. Delete the pictures? Show me the pictures on the camera. No, I'm not showing you the pictures on my camera. But we're going to throw you out. All right, you can throw me out, but I'm not showing you the pictures or deleting the pictures off my camera. And I get escorted off the grounds. As they escort me out the door, the security weasel is talking to the other security people, basically saying, see that guy? Don't let him back on the show floor. Well, I'm screwed. This is the day before Apple Expo in Paris. I'm supposed to be doing the show and interviewing people and taking pictures, and I'm suddenly banned from the show floor. So Jay didn't have a cell phone at the time. And so I basically sat outside. This was first thing in the morning. This was probably 8 o'clock in the morning. I sat outside waiting for Jay to come out, thinking he'd come out around lunchtime. Well, I didn't know, again, this was my first expo. I didn't know that many of the vendors had catered lunches brought in to their booths. The guys at JBL, you can see the speakers on the left-hand side of that picture, on the right-hand side of the picture. The guys at JBL, and I showed these pictures on last week's show, had a wine bar in the back of their booth. So Jay was hanging out with the JBL guys. Obviously had no concern about me, didn't care where I was, didn't think to ask, hey, by the way, where's Sean? So it wasn't until like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon that finally Jay saunters his way out and sees me sitting on the ground somewhere. Hey, where you been? Dude, I got thrown out of the show floor. He's like, what? What? Yeah, they threw me out. Why? I explained to him. He said, they threw you out because of that? Yeah, they threw me out because of black cloth. Can you believe this? They threw me out because I took a picture of black cloth. So Jay said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, tomorrow the show opens. I'm going to try to sneak in. But, you go in a different door than me so you don't get in trouble. You don't want to get painted by the same brush as me. So what you do is, you go in that door over there. I'll go in this door. If they throw me out, if you don't see it, and we'll meet at the Griffin booth. If you don't see me in half an hour, come on back outside, come get me. Well, luckily enough, either they didn't get the message or they didn't care. I didn't get recognized at the other check-in point. So we go into the show floor. I go to Griffin. There's Jay. We're laughing about this. But the entire expo, my head is on a swivel, looking around for this little Weasley security guy to make sure. I saw him twice, too. And both times I snuck around a corner and ducked and ran away from the guy. But yeah, that was me getting thrown out of Macworld Expo because of some officious security weasel not wanting me to take a picture of black cloth. Thank you very much. We'll have more of those stories as time goes on, as we go forward. I also got 3 Nifty drives, 3 of the Nifty mini drives. You guys see these things? These are actually kind of, well, lack of a better term, nifty. The Nifty guys have these really interesting external hard drive is the wrong way to put it, but it's an external drive that fits into the slot on your MacBook and MacBook Pro, and I think they're 64 gig cards. I think they're really kind of a neat idea for real quick backup. So I like these guys. The company is called NiftyMiniDrive.com is the place to get those. But these are winning. First one to go to, our good friend Maurice Chevalier wins this one. Congratulations to Maurice. We've got 3 of them to give away, so let's pick up someone else. Cindy Compton. Cindy, congratulations. You've won a mini drive. Let me get your email, Cindy. There we go. Make sure I get that right. Come here. Nifty Mini Drive is the address. And the third one is going to go out to, really quickly, I'm going to send this one out to Larry Weinberg. Larry, by the way, someone asked me this. Can you win twice? Yes, you can win twice. I think Larry won last week because I remember Larry in Arizona. Yeah, I've got no problem with folks winning twice. So Larry Weinberg, you've won a Nifty Mini Drive. We also gave away, actually, you know what? We'll wait just for a second. We got 2 more copies of 2 one-year unlimited online backup subscriptions to Backblaze to give away, and we'll do that in a few minutes too. Got some great emails from you guys over the past few days. First, I want to say thanks to a new subscriber to Your Mac Life, Neil Thomas. Neil, thank you very much for being a new subscriber to Your Mac Life. But I mentioned how important feedback was from the audience and encourage you guys to go and tell other people whose products or writing or activities you like. Send them an email. A bunch of you CC'd me, or actually probably BCC'd me on these emails, and it's great. Like I said in last week's show, the folks who create this kind of content, we don't hear enough good things. Generally, you only email someone when you're complaining about a thing. So when you get a chance, like someone's Facebook page, tweet them that you like their product, send them an email that you like their podcast. It's a little thing. It just takes a few seconds of your time, but you would not believe what kind of a difference it makes. And this is an example. I've gotten all of these emails from you folks over the last week. Perfect example of it is David Bridle. Again, David, not sure what your name. I was listening to the 20th anniversary edition of YML. I was horrified to hear you say that you were thinking of shutting YML down. Thankfully, you were talked out of the situation by a mosquito. Personally, it's my only tech podcast that I feel connected to, and I feel I get real information from. I quite often sit in my office on my own and with your podcast playing. The other podcasts give me information, but your show gives me a connection. He says, as a photographer, designer, and teacher, I greatly appreciate the time and effort that you put into the show. I donate $2 per month, as that's all I can afford with a new baby on board. David, I appreciate that. Even $2 makes a huge amount of difference. So don't anyone feel bad if you're only subscribed to Your Mac Life for $2. Don't think, oh, Sean thinks I'm cheap or anything else again. I don't think that at all. I do not think that at all. And little things mean a lot. If 2,000 people send someone $2 a month, that's a nice wage. You know what I'm saying? So don't think that you don't not subscribe to Your Mac Life because you can only afford $2 a month. $2 a month times 1,000 would be nice. David says, however, is there anything I can do to help you with the show or support you, then please tell me. Thank you again for all the time you spent on putting this out there for all of us to listen or watch. David, I see in your SIG file you're a photographer. We're going to be doing more stuff about photography. So anything that you want to offer, any advice, I'm going to assume if you put it in your SIG file, you're a professional photographer. Any corrections you can make to me, if I say something wrong, please let me know. I always appreciate hearing from you folks. Let's see. Got an email from Debbie Myers. Congratulations on 20 years of Mac podcasting. Your show always goes to the top of my Mac podcast. It's one of my favorites. She says, I don't get to listen live sometimes because my grandson came to visit the day after the show, and when he comes, I don't do anything but play Star Wars, Nerf War, sword fighting, Lego, and endless hours of Minecraft. Good for you, Debbie. That's what you should be doing with your grandson, not listening to us, not listening to me. You have fun with your grandchild. Thanks for your time, effort, and dedication to Your Mac Life. Tom R. I think it's Tom. Is that Tom Reiser? I think it is. I had a chance to listen to the whole milestone episode, and as always, it was great. I even won a Scotty vest. Anyway, while listening, I feel really guilty I haven't kept in touch more. Was shocked to hear you were thinking about moving on from YML. You've always been one of the best interviewers around. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. I agree that having a co-host has made the show better, but it's clear that part of that is your preference for having someone else there. That's a good point. You're good enough on your own, and someone else will appear in your life. I know you miss the Sig and the little Sig, maybe even more than her mom. Kids get under our skin as we age without noticing how much. My partners now have 11-year-old niece and has really done that for me. Hang in there. Things will work out. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate that. I didn't realize. Anyway, Jason Painter, dear Sean, I finally listened to the show. Congratulations on 20 years. This is Jason down in Sydney, Australia. I've dreaded for some time that you might give it up. I've said many times that you've been an integral part of my Saturdays and my life since 2003. I would hate for you to give it up. I'm glad you've decided to continue. Yours is one of the most reasoned and honest voices in the Mac community. In the Mac and greater tech industry. To silence your voice would be a tragedy. I hope you can get the rest of your life on track. I will continue to support you. It's things like that that make me want to keep doing the show. Honestly. Because on Wednesday nights, I sit here and I do this, and without feedback, you don't know if you're doing a good job or a bad job or people appreciate what you do. And I'm not saying everyone has to stroke Sean's ego every single Wednesday, or anyone's ego for any period of time, but just if you haven't sent an email to someone who makes software or makes a podcast or creates pictures or whatever, send them an email. Believe me, they'll appreciate it. Carl Rachichi just listened to this week's podcast. Thanks again for doing this program for so long. I've enjoyed it for almost 10 years. My week would not be the same without it. Phil Paxman, I work second shift, so I just finished listening to the 20th anniversary show. What a great show. I've been listening for the last 4 or 5 years, so it was nice to hear about how it all came to be. Please don't take this the wrong way or think I'm ungrateful, because I'm not. I'm really happy to win the iStop Motion software, but to be honest, I'm not into that type of photography. What I'd like to do is see if you know anyone who's into stop motion and give it to them. Lastly, please don't put the show to bed. I listen to a lot of podcasts while I work, and your show gives a different perspective than all the others. Like it was said tonight, you are very personable and can relate to your audience very well. Thanks for all the effort you put into making a show every week. I look forward to listening every Thursday. Phil Paxman. Okay, for those folks who are, again, tuned in live, this is why you tune in live, the third person to send me an email, Sean@yourmaclifesoftware.com, yourmaclifeshow.com, third person, wins a copy of iStop Motion software from the nice folks at Boinks. Third person, Sean@yourmaclifeshow.com. Let's see what else I got. Oh, this. Let me make sure I find this one. This is from Anthony Gonzalez. It's a bit long, but I think it's worth it. Anthony says, I've been wanting to send you an email for ages, but time and life kept getting in the way. I'll try to be brief. I wanted to first continue to extend congratulations on your 20 years of Mac broadcasting. As a longtime listener, since at least 1997, Anthony Gonzalez is patient zero when it comes to listeners of Your Mac Life. He seems to be the person who's listened to us the longest. I truly enjoyed your summary of the events of the show history and actually remembered a few of the events you described. You recently asked us to give you some of our reflections. And when you mentioned Mac Home and Mac Today magazines, it reminded me that when I bought my very first Mac, the box included a few mini-sized magazine versions of either Mac Today or Mac Home offering free trial subscriptions. I dutifully subscribed, and at some point within those first few months, I discovered your show, likely through a link. In those days, it was fun to try out all the various things that my Mac could do that my PC friends could never do in their machines. One of them was being able to easily set up Real Player without having to buy a sound card. The good old days. And soon enough, catching this streaming broadcast which offered interesting stories about Mac software and what you could do with it. I remember the rapport between you and Adam and enjoyed finding out that I was not alone in thinking this machine was the greatest thing ever. I found myself tuned in every week and wishing I could somehow take the show with me and listen on my long commute to and from work. After being convinced by your enthusiasm on the show about how much fun Macworld Expo was, I eventually convinced myself to go. It happened to be the New York Expo in which the original iMac was first exhibited. I searched the Expo show floor for you guys and eventually spotted you and Adam behind a stack of towers and machines. You were on the air, and I remember being struck at how simple this setup was for such a technically great sounding show. Backing up, if the show sounded great, that was because of Adam. It wasn't because of me. I was way too shy to come up and say hello, but stood by and listened for a bit. I believe you had a bowl or something for collecting business cards, and I dropped one in. I think for that first show, I had taken an extended work break and needed to get back. On the air after that show, you explained that listeners should never be afraid to approach you, unless you were on the air, which I thought was so nice and kept in mind for the future. At that Macworld, I commented via email how everyone at the show would have brought an iMac home with them right then and there. This was before the release. The following year, I won Expo tickets from your show. I arrived at the Javits Center extra early, but not early enough for the keynote, the one where Noah Wiley played Jobs, and those seated in the main auditorium got a free Apple mouse. At the time, I had no real idea of the importance of who Jobs was, but you could feel the magic and the distortion field working even in the side room I was in. More fun, though, it was meeting up with you and Hillary and several listeners, many of whom still chime in with you from time to time. I could go on, but I just wanted to share a few tidbits to remind you that your show has made a difference and does matter. Despite the ups and downs of your life, which you so candidly share, your show always remains entertaining, informative, and most of all, honest. There are lessons to be learned from everything, and I do hope things go better for you soon. I can understand your feelings for wanting to walk away from it, but I do think this sort of thing is in your blood. I'm hoping you can find some success out there in the industry, as you do deserve it and the recognition that goes along with it. As long as you keep doing your show, we'll keep listening. Thank you for sharing so many aspects of your appropriately named show, Mac Life, with us. Best regards, Tony, G-Man from the old forums. Tony, thank you very much for that email. That was the sweetest, wonderful email. That's why I read so much of it, because it was a great email that I actually really love. Mosquito says, Sean, rest assured, I will always give you feedback. Sometimes it will be painful. I don't mind that. I absolutely don't mind. I've never minded criticism. It's one of the things that we don't do well enough. Constructive criticism. You're an asshole is not criticism. I may agree with you, but it's not useful criticism. Yeah, Brian Monroe, Sean, if Sean can dish it out, he can take it. Exactly. I dish it out plenty of times. I have no problem taking it. If you've got constructive criticism of how you think I need to do something better, I will listen. I may not do it. I still remember the beginning years of the show. Every time I got an email from someone that said, I don't like this, do this, I would change it. And then after a while, you realize I keep changing the show for this one person. And then I stopped. I started listening to what they were saying, but if I didn't agree with them, I wouldn't implement it. But I like feedback. I've always liked it and looked for it and encouraged it. Let's see who wins the prize. Monty says, about a year after I started listening to YML, I sent you an email about what YML meant to me. If you still have it, no, I don't still have it. No, I delete emails instantly the second I get them. Doug Paznak. Doug, congratulations. You've won a copy of I Stop Motion from the nice folks at Boinks Software. Thanks very much. I appreciate that. Let's, before we go, let's make sure I want to give away this. We got 2 copies of Backblaze, 2 one-year unlimited online backup subscriptions to Backblaze. This one's going to go out to, let me quickly go through here. Ready, scrolling. There we go. No, that was the same one. Dean Madison, you've won a copy of Backblaze. So what you do is it's the online backup software. It's not going to back up your entire hard drive, but it's good for, like I've always told folks, you've got to have multiple backups. This is one way of doing multiple backups. As I said earlier, we're going to be doing a little photo segment on the show from here on in. StartingPointPhotography.com is the website for some of the photography stuff I'm doing. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., we're doing a subscribers beginning tips and tricks class. If you're a beginning photographer and want to learn how to take better pictures with the camera you already have, there are 10 tips and tricks I'll teach you where the photo you take after the class will be better than the photo you took before the class. It's 2 hours. It's done by a Google Hangout. 10 a.m. Thursday. There's room for 2 more people in the class. I never wanted it to be a huge class, like 5 is the maximum. If you're a subscriber to Your Mac Life, the class is $50, okay, for 2 hours. If you're a subscriber to Your Mac Life, I'll give you a 10% discount. So send me an email and I'll send you the code for 10% off. If you subscribe for more than a year to Your Mac Life, it's free. Send me an email. We'll get you into the class. If you prepay a year in advance for Your Mac Life, the class is free. We'll get you into the class. And all those conditions apply even if you can't make it Thursday at 10 a.m. If you want to do the class at Friday at 2 p.m., the class is on demand. I'll do it when you have the time. Because I recognize not everybody can be at that certain place that I dictate. So because I'm always here in front of this gear, I've made it so you guys, if you want to do it at midnight on a Saturday, I'll do it at midnight on a Saturday. If you want to do it Tuesday at noon, I'll do it Tuesday at noon. No big deal. Just send me an email to Sean@YourMacLifeShow.com. One of the questions everyone who teaches photography, talks about photography, is a photographer. One of the questions beginners always ask is, what camera should I buy? Okay? I'm sure most of you probably ask that question, either of yourselves, of someone else, of a photographer, whatever it might be. So here's a couple of tips. First thing is, never ask that question of a guy you're buying cameras from. My father never gave me very much advice. He never said a whole lot. But one of the things that he said that has always stuck with me is the idea, never take advice or ask for advice from a guy trying to sell you something, because he's trying to sell you something. So there's the first thing. If you ask somebody, what camera should I buy? And the first thing they do is start telling you what kind of camera you should buy, walk away. Because that's not the first question they should be asking you. When you ask somebody, what camera should I buy? Their response should be this question. What kind of shooter are you? What kind of photographs do you want to take? What kind of photographer do you want to be? Because that dictates what kind of camera you're going to buy. I saw an article on some photography website saying, oh, so you want to get into photography. Here's the first thing you should do. Buy a DSLR. No! No, don't buy a DSLR if you're just getting into photography. If you want to buy a DSLR, go right ahead. But buying a DSLR will not automatically make you a better photographer. It just won't. Just like driving a Ferrari will not make you a better driver. The first question is, you have to ask yourself, or the first question the other person should ask you is, what kind of things do you like taking pictures of? If you are just a casual photographer, an iPhone's a great camera. If you want something that's portable, a point and shoot might be a great camera. If you want to get serious about photography and you like buying gadgets and gear, maybe a DSLR is the right camera for you. Look at the question from the reverse. Not what camera should I buy, but what kind of photography do I want to do? If you want to take night photos, then you're not going to buy an iPhone. If you like taking photos of star trails, astronomy photos, probably not an iPhone, although you certainly can do that. If you like taking photos of environments, you like going skiing and taking photos, or going to the beach and taking photos, or underwater photography, you ain't buying an iPhone. You're not even buying a DSLR. You're buying one of the tough range of point-and-shoot cameras. So there's all kinds of things to think about before asking, what camera should I buy? Think about what kind of photography you like to do. For example, me, I love portrait photography. I love street photography. So that's going to dictate the kind of pictures I take and the kind of gear I use. One of the pictures I show off in the class, for those folks who will take the class tomorrow, is just, it's one of my favorite photos of a woman in Turkey. We were outside of a mosque in Turkey, and the sun was setting. And she has this orangey yellow bandana is the wrong word, but it's the Muslim head wrap. I don't know what it's called. Her face is open. It's not the full on burqa type thing, but she's covered her hair, and she's looking towards the sunlight. And I'm standing off to the side of her, but I'm about 25 yards away. And I'm not getting that photo with an iPhone. I'm probably not getting that photo with a point and shoot. But with a DSLR, where I could control the functions of it, the aperture, the shutter, those kind of the ISO, and a lens that zoomed in, I got one of my most favorite shots of this woman. Because that's the kind of thing I like to do. I like taking street photography from a distance. I don't want to get up in anyone's face and take pictures. More guerrilla photography, sneaky photography, I guess is another way of putting it. So keep that in mind. Don't talk so much about, don't ask so much about the kind of camera, but look at your iPhone. Look at the pictures you've already taken on your iPhone. Scroll through them and see if there's a common theme there. Someone's talking about macro photography. John Kalon, I'm really liking the macro mode on my camera, a year-old Canon PowerShot S3. So yeah, if that's the kind of photography you like, then you'll buy a camera that will help you do that. John Kalon, by the way, take a look at the Olo Clip. The new Olo Clip macro lenses, 10 times and 15 times macro lenses, really kind of cool. I have some downside. It's really tough to focus at 15 times macro, but check on that. Let's see, I got some more emails here. Let me see what we got for emails before we wrap up. Okay. So finally, last but not least, we're giving away our final prize. Again, Backblaze, giving away, backblaze.com is the website, giving away a 1-year unlimited online backup subscription to a lucky listener of Your Mac Life. This one goes out to Matthew Duffy. Congratulations to Matthew Duffy. You are a winner of the year's subscription to Backblaze. I want to say, again, a big thank you to all the wonderful companies who participated in the 20th anniversary drawing for Your Mac Life. It's greatly appreciated. I sent out probably a couple of hundred emails to folks, and these companies, Pad and Quill, Boink Software, Take Control Books, Tom Bin, Glovely, Smile Software, MacFun, Scott Evest, Danny P, Pixelmator, Topaz Labs, Primo Visto, Fuse Designs, Connects, Nifty Drives, and Backblaze. All those companies, I want to say thank you guys very much for giving me stuff to give away, because it makes me look good and makes the audience happy. So I really appreciate for all those companies who sent us stuff to give away. And hopefully we'll keep doing this. Hopefully we'll get some other stuff to give away, because I love giving stuff away. I love giving other people stuff away too. As always, folks, if you have any questions or comments about the show, we love getting emails. Send me an email to Sean@yourmaclifeshow.com or onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. I appreciate getting emails from you guys anytime, but any subject matter, any questions, anything else like that. If you're a subscriber to Your Mac Life, remember we have a separate mailing list for subscribers. If you want more information about that, again, send me an email to Sean@yourmaclifeshow.com. I want to say thanks to you guys who tuned in via live, especially thanks to you guys in the IRC chat room. Always appreciate the folks in the IRC chat room for being tuned into the show. If you're listening to the archive, also thank you guys very much for being tuned into the show if you're listening on a Thursday or Tuesday or Saturday afternoon. Folks, as always, I want to say thanks to all of you guys for being tuned in the show. Until next week, as always, I've been Sean King, and you were listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!